Hello from Kampala in Uganda. Thank you so much for joining me here today for a couple of thoughts from the Bible. So my Bible reading plan takes me through both the Old and the New Testament in 1 year each year. And recently I've been reading the story of King David, how he became king, what his life was like as a young man, how he got to that position. And at one point in his life, this young man discovers that the current King Saul wants to kill him, wants to murder him. And so David flees for his life. And on the way to the wilderness, where he hopes that he'll be safe from King Saul, he stops at a place called Nob. And Ahimelech, the priest, gives him and his men some bread to eat, gives David a sword. David doesn't exactly tell him that he's on the run from King Saul at that point, just that he's on a special mission. And so Ahimelech helps him, and off David goes into hiding. But later, when King Saul discovers that David was there at the town of Nob, Saul goes to talk to the priest Ahimelech. And when he finds that Ahimelech helped David, this is what happened in 1 Samuel chapter 22 and verse 17. The king ordered the guards at his side, turn and kill the priests of the Lord, because they too have sided with David. They knew he was fleeing. Well, actually, they didn't quite know that. And yet they did not tell me. But the king's officials were unwilling to raise a hand to strike the priests of the Lord. Now, as I read this account, I started off thinking, wow, those officials, they were pretty brave, actually. They stood against the king, against their anointed leader, even when he was in a bit of a murderous rage. And they said, no, we are not going to do that, Saul. I'm sorry, but we will not raise a hand against the priests of the king. But unfortunately, the story doesn't quite end there. It doesn't have Saul turning around at that point and realizing, oh yeah, you're right, I was wrong. Let's just go home and leave it as it was. Instead, when Saul's own people didn't respond to his command, he orders Doeg, an Edomite, to do the deed instead. Now, I assume that Dereg wasn't on his own. I assume that he had some of his own people helping him in this task, because the Bible tells us that he killed 85 priests. But that he didn't stop there. He actually went to the town of Nob and killed every single woman, every single child, even every single animal in that place. So I'm pretty sure that he probably had some help to do that deed, where you would think that the people would have overpowered him. But either way, the priests were killed and their whole town was put to the sword. Now my question is, what were Saul's officials and those guards doing while this happened? Nothing. They were doing nothing. So maybe they were outnumbered by Doeg's men. We don't know. We don't have the numbers. We're not told the exact groups of people that were there at that time. But it seems that after standing aside and taking no action themselves, that was as far as they were prepared to go. They were not willing to put themselves in between Doeg's men and the priests of the Lord God Almighty, those who were involved in the worship of the King of Kings. They were not prepared to put themselves in harm's way to save their lives. All they were willing to do was say, no, we're not going to do it ourselves. But they weren't willing to stop anybody else from taking that horrific action against people of Israel. Now, there is a heck of a lot of injustice in this world that we live in today. And it's so easy for us as Christians to stand back and say, well, yeah, I know there is, but I'm not I'm not actively involved in it. I'm not actually making it happen. So I'm okay, right? Just a few days ago, I was reading a news headline about the millions, the 1.5 or something like that million estimated children who are living in slavery in West Africa to harvest cocoa so that Western countries in the world can have chocolate. That is not okay. That is an injustice. That is horrific in this world today. But it's so easy for us to stand back and say, well, yeah, but I'm not standing over those children with a rod and beating them, am I? So I'm not really responsible. And yet, are we checking how the food that we eat and the clothes that we wear, how those things are sourced? Are we checking if there is slavery involved in the food that is on your table? This is not an easy topic. This is a really, really difficult subject today. But as Christians, I genuinely believe that we need to do more to stand against the injustices in this world. We should be willing to step in, even if it costs us, even if it causes us harm, to do something to prevent the atrocities that are going on in this world around us. And I know that it is hard to know where to start, because there are just so many things in this world that are not right. But there are so many charities and ministries and churches and outreaches. There are so many individual people who are working against poverty and slavery and human trafficking and all of those very, very real injustices that are happening in this world today. And you can support them. You can support them financially. You can encourage them. You can be praying. If you are doing nothing else, then at least pray, because prayer is so powerful and it can break chains that nothing else can. But look for something practical that you can be doing as well. Why don't you look into where the clothes and the food, the things that you're wearing, the things that you're eating are sourced? If you're finding that there are practices that you don't agree with, then maybe you should stop supporting those companies. There are things that you can do. But most of all, I want to encourage you that you should always be willing to step in. If you see something happening right in front of you that is not right, that is an injustice, don't be content to just step back as those officials did, as those guards did, and say, well, I'm not going to be involved myself. I'm not going to be involved in doing this deed. Actively do something to prevent it. Pray for wisdom. Ask God to show you what you can do in this world. Even if it's only the tiniest, teeniest little step, ask God how you can be involved in stopping some of the injustices that we see each and every single day. This is a hard topic. It is something that I am thinking for myself. What can I be doing in this world to help the inequalities, the atrocities, the injustices that we see? And it's not easy. There is no easy answer. But if we all took one little step, if we all did one little thing, just imagine the combined impact that would have. Let's step up. Let's move beyond just saying, well, I'm not actively involved, so it's okay. And let's do something in this world. Sorry, this video's got a little bit long, but this is something I'm so passionate about. We are supposed to be taking a stand, to be doing something different, to be helping those people who are suffering and who are hurting in this world right now. I hope that this has challenged you, and I do so encourage you, even now, why not just spend a few moments in prayer and ask God to show you what you can be doing in this world to level that playing field. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be back on Friday with some more thoughts from the Bible. So I will see you then.